everyone, it's Amanda with the Historics, and for our presentation we had Slavery in the South with me, Damien, Jonathan, and Raven. I'm right here. Hi. Slavery actually began in the 1600s, about 1619, when a Dutch ship took 20 African slaves to a the British colony, Jamestown, Virginia. Slavery is actually where one person is, or more than one person is, controlling or owning someone against their will. Sometimes they were prisoners of war, sometimes they were working to repay debts or money they owed, or sometimes it was just because they were a different race. A lot of people didn't think that slavery was a bad thing. They were okay with it. They didn't mind how slaves were treated or how they had to work and they weren't citizens or anything. Slavery, they even had like slave sales where they would sell slaves and put them up there like they were having an auction or something, and people would bid on them and sell them like that based on what they could do, how old they were, or just different things, as you can see right here. The England's southern colonies in North America developed a farm economy that could not survive without slave labor. They needed slaves to be able to harvest, tend to, and grow their crops for tobacco, sugar, cotton, and many different things. There was more than one type of slave. They had field slaves or house slaves. A house slave is where a slave worked inside of the home, and they also, most of the time, they lived in the home. They cooked meals, they took care of the kids, they ironed clothes, they did the cleaning, just different things like that. And the field slaves most of the time worked on the plantations, and they planted, tended, and harvested the tobacco, cotton, and sugar. They usually lived somewhere on the plantations, but and this is a house slave, how she's tending to the kids and stuff. And this one where he's coming back, I guess, from where he's been working in the field, and how these people off to the left are just sitting there not doing nothing. The owners abused slaves. They didn't treat them very nicely, and since nobody ever stopped it or had a problem with it and the government was okay with it, it just continued to happen. When the slaves lived on a larger plantation, they were treated more harsh. They were treated inhumane. They were beat, physically abused, and emotionally and mentally, I guess. And when they lived on smaller plantations, the owners tended to treat them better and treat them a little bit more humane and treat them with a little bit, I guess, more respect than they would on the larger plantations. This is where they would beat them, and then sometimes they would end up with beat so bad that they would get scars and different things like this. In 1863, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a war goal to end all slavery. And this is a picture of him trying to do that. And finally, December 6th of 1865, the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution abolished slavery throughout the United States. And it ended all the distinction between slave states and free states, and there was no more. And that's it. Thank you.